My son's name was Josh Manning.
Hey, Dad.
Meet me at the bell.
No, I got class.
A tragedy of this magnitude, absolutely heartbreaking.
Well, I'm trying to get
Mr. Manning, have you spoken to any of the other parents? I hate to
He was always very sweet to me.
Yeah, I'm trying to stay strong.
If you want to act like Josh never existed, great. But make no mistake, you are hiding.
The more that I know,
I saved this for you.
go.
Music was always you guys'
The
thing.
more that I know, that I wanna go home.
Knock, knock.
Hello?
That song was awesome. There have to be others. Someone ought to play them. We could play them.
You're my sidekick, you're my alibi, you're my right-hand man. Could I make you understand? I don't know.
Think you guys could put together enough songs to play a full set?
Voila! Not bad, huh?
Let there be music and let there be thrills. You don't like the silence and you never will.
You are a godsend. Yeah, what you doing for that boy?
Oh, God.
The faster we go, don't try to wait me, just hold on and never let go.
My son wrote all the songs.
Your boy wrote all that music. Well, what were you thinking?
Darkness, don't give way to light. I wish
You don't need those songs. You don't need me. Keep going.
Shine so bright. Raise your glasses and drink one tonight.
Sam hates the name.
No way.
I don't hate the
Don't
name.
blame me. I like the old man in the threes.
My name's Adam Mast, and I am with Cinemast.net, as well as Southern Utah's The Independent, and sitting right next to me is the amazing...
I'm local celebrity Sheldon Demke.
How are you, Sheldon?
I'm so glad to be here with you, Adam.
This is a cool day. We've got some special guests here in just a moment.
I'm very excited about it.
Yeah, it's going to be cool. So 2014, obviously a great year for movies, and some of the best films just so happened to come out of last year's Sundance Film Festival. One of my favorites, a movie that totally flew in under the radar, hardly anyone...
Came out of nowhere.
I know, and a lot of people didn't see this movie, and that's why we want to make everyone aware of it, because it's on demand right now, and it's also on DVD. Fantastic music-based drama called Rudderless. The film stars Billy Crudup as a man reeling from a tragedy and how music plays an important part in his healing process. The movie is directed by the great William H. Macy, an actor we both love and admire very much.
The first movie he's ever directed.
Yeah, directorial debut. And the screenplay, hard-hitting screenplay I might add, was written by Casey Twenter and Jeff Robison. And guess what?
What?
We have them on the line. They're New Orleans, or not New Orleans. Actually, Casey's in New Orleans right now, having a great time. They're actually Oklahoma natives, home of the great Flaming Lips, one of our favorite bands.
Oh, yeah.
And we've got these guys on the line right now. Are you guys there?
Yeah, how you doing? That was quite an intro.
Yeah.
That made it seem really important.
Well, you are important.
Oh, very important.
I hope we didn't build you up too much.
No, you also made it sound very interesting. So I think maybe you guys should just keep talking and just let Casey and Yeah, exactly.
Well, okay, let's kind of jump right in a little bit before we actually get into Rudderless, which is what this conversation is really supposed to be about. Can you guys talk a little bit about your backgrounds in film and then how you came to know each other, how you came to be friends?
Sure. Casey, are you too hungover to do a lot of the talking? No, I'm good.
Ironically, we're hungover too, so...
Casey, one of our friends' nieces is a student at Tulane, and they invited Casey down to New Orleans to do a little speaking on filmmaking. So I feel like he's probably freshly up to date on his speech. So I'm going to let Casey go.
Oh, great. Yeah, no, Jeff and I have been writing together for about 10 years. We started
Exactly.
And, Jeff had a passion for film, and we were having conversations about movies, and he mentioned that he had finally scratched an itch and written a screenplay himself, and that turned into him suggesting that I try it, and it was a lot like, I don't know, the way I hear people who love golf say the first time they walked out onto the course, they fell in love with the game, and, were immediately, a fanatic, addicted, and that's the way writing was for both of us, and we just started writing scripts, honing our craft, took ourselves to screenwriting school, so to speak, and read every book we could find, and, 10 or 12 screenplays later, we wrote Rudderless, and then had a 5-year journey or so to get it to the screen.
So you guys wrote 12 screenplays together, or is this just between the two of you, like separate?
I'd say total. I mean, that are completed throughout the years. We probably have anywhere between 15 and 20.
Wow.
And then we get several others that are just in various stages. And the first one that I wrote, because I was just coming out of my bachelorhood, and I had just gotten married, and so you write about what you know. I mean, there's a little bit of you and everything. And so my first script was kind of like Caddyshack meets American Pie meets Animal House.
Nice.
And it was really just crude, hard rated R comedy, based around golf and beer and girls and all that kind of stuff. And
so when are we going to see that movie?
I want to make that so bad. I still read it every once in a while, and I'm like, oh my God, it's funny. And Casey, since then Casey and then a guy named Jeff Johnson, who's one of our producing partners, has come in and given me notes. So we've tweaked it throughout the years, but it's so far removed from what we're, I guess, anybody that knows us, what we're known for, that it might be one of those passion things. We have to wait a little while, but I think it might embolden Casey, because he was like, man, this is like very sophomoric stuff, and he wrote, his first script was about a guy that had named Bunyan, the 19 or 20-year-old kid that had a bunion, and his goal after he got out of jail was to become the world's greatest ping pong player, and it was hilarious. And so we started off with these two comedies, and then we're like, oh, let's stretch, let's do an action. And we did an action, and then Casey comes up with these ideas that are really like off the wall, not like strange, like Kaufman or anything, but he called me one day and he said, let's write a movie based upon all the lyrics of Johnny Cash.
Huh.
And I go, okay, why not? And then a couple weeks later he says, we need to write a movie about John Henry. And I go, okay. And so we write that one. We actually auctioned that one. It's a great, I'm not saying it because we wrote it, but I really like that script. And then one day he calls and says, let's write a story about the first all-women air derby race in America.
Wow.
Just like, I'm like, what?
You're all over the place.
Well, go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, as far as the whole sophomoric comedy thing, why not? Look at what the Zucker brothers did,
Yeah, well, and Adam, you're so well versed in film that the thing is that those guys, take like a guy like Simon West, okay? And so he makes a couple of really good action movies, and so he gets hired to direct action movies, and there's so much money involved, I'm sure, yeah, I'll make another one. I don't think a guy like Simon West can only make an action movie.
Right.
I think but everybody kind of gets, you go, oh, this is the kind of movie you make.
Pigeonholed, unfortunately. Yeah.
Well, it's a living, and those guys do it. But so Casey and we've got horror films and action and historical drama, and we've really tried to stretch ourselves. But right now, independent film is a very difficult business because, well, it's not tough. Everything is worth pursuing is difficult, but we're always in the process of getting money.
Yeah.
So our next films, we're planning on shooting one in May and another one in August, and they're both drama. One's kind of a comedy drama, very similar to Rudderless. And as far as just the tone is concerned, and the other one's more kind of a mystery thriller type. So you kind of gradually try and stretch yourself out. And the people, obviously, it's a business, and so they want a return on their investment, which everybody got with Rudderless plus some.
Great to hear.
in spite of, it kind of flying under the radar, it did it really well. And so people are like, oh, that's the kind of movie you made, so we want to see more of that. And so we're just starting out. I'm a teacher, Casey the creative director. We still got our day jobs, but this is what we're known for. That's what we can get made. That's what we're going to get made. We're very passionate about that stuff. But, Casey has ambitions and wants and likes, and we'd like to see his, ideas get made someday. And I have different likes, and I've got one that's a werewolf, kind of like Alien, but it's with a werewolf.
Oh.
It's kind of like bank heist. It turns into they get holed up in a warehouse with a werewolf chasing them, and it's just a silly action monster movie, and I love those kind of movies.
American Werewolf in London, classic.
Yeah, man, the whole John Carpenter thing.
Sheldon and I are huge John Carpenter fans. In fact, Sheldon and I have got a script. It's a zombie. We've got a zombie script that we're working on with a twist. I'll tell you guys about that when we're off the interview, but you'll get a kick out of it.
Careful. We can steal that thing, don't
Yeah, it's a zombie. I doubt it. It's a zombie movie.
We don't like scary movies, so we won't steal it.
Yeah, we love genre films, especially when it's injected with a great dose of comedy. But I get what you're saying. Floating in and out of genres. Sheldon and I were talking about Paul and Chris Weitz also. They were behind American Pie, and then one of them went off. Made About a Boy. You couldn't be any further apart than those two movies. So they kind of float in between sophomore comedy and stuff that's a little more serious. But anyway, so you say that the Rudderless was a 5-year process?
Yeah, I think from start to finish, about 5 years. I write because my math's not so great, so give me some. We'll round up, round down. What about that? Yeah.
So what was it like when you got this into the hands of William H. Macy? You must have been pumped when you found out that he read it and he wanted to do it. I mean,
Clint Eastwood told us no, so Macy was kind of a decent backup. No,
well, he was busy making the most polarizing movie of the year in American Sniper.
I
So
loved it. I loved American Sniper.
I did too. I think whether or not Chris Kyle is accurately portrayed in that movie is irrelevant. I just think it's a really well-made movie.
Chris Cooper, I'm sorry. Chris Cooper was the guy we wanted for another one of our films. You guys know who I'm talking about.
Bradley Cooper.
I'm not an actor, but I think it's one of the best performances I've seen, and many years. We've all watched really good performances. He did stuff in that movie that was on a different level.
It's a career highlight for Bradley Cooper, in my opinion. I think it's the best work he's done, and he's done some great stuff with David O. Russell. But I think, it was a complete transformation, physical and mental. So I'm right there with you. But back to William H. Macy. So. Yeah, tell us a little bit about that, about how that all went down, how you got it to him, and what your thought was after he told you he wanted to make the movie.
Casey, you tell him the story. It's kind of like out of a Hollywood. It's almost you can't make up what happened, but I'm going to let Casey tell it. Yeah, so, we had been working to get the film off the ground for, I want to say, about a year and a half, 2 years. And we had had some varied success, but we were kind of at a moment where it looked like it wasn't going to happen at all. But the great thing was over those 2 years, we had gotten a lot of really great feedback about the script. So, rather than start to back off, we kind of leaned in and had read this article that Bill wanted to direct, William H. Macy wanted to direct, and so I called his agent. And typically when you call an agent, you get an assistant, and the assistant's job is to make sure nobody like me gets them on the phone. And I called the agent, and he's a senior agent, vice president at TAA, which compounds it even more. It's harder to get a hold of that person. And through some confluence of mistakes, I ended up on the phone with Peter Levine, Bill's agent, and I knew that it was a screw up, so I immediately went into telesales mode where I knew that if I stopped talking, he was going to shuffle me off. So I till I ran out of breath. And he took a minute, and then he just was like, hey, yeah, send it over. So, which I was dumbfounded that that happened. So sent the script over to CAA, and 1 week later, this is not a, this is like, it sounds like a fake, like, story that you bring up for Jimmy Fallon or something like that. But one week later, on April Fool's Day, on April 1st, we get an email from a nondescript email address, AOL no less. It was an AOL address, and it said, hey, this is William H. Macy, and I'm liked your script, and if you're serious about me directing, then I'm very interested. And, of course, I flipped, I freaked out, did backflips, and then called Jeff and told him, and he was like, if you're messing with me, I'm going to, drive to Kansas City and beat you with your own arm. And I said, why? And then that's when the revelation of it being April Fool's Day and potentially an April Fool's joke for me and him. And then that turned into us wondering if it was an April Fool's joke from one of our cruel friends. So emailed Bill back and said, hey, let's get on the phone. Yes, we're absolutely serious. And we scheduled a call for 1 week later. And I think that whole week, Jeff and I kind of thought that, like, one of our brothers or somebody was going to be on the other line when the call happened. But
it was legit.
It was not.
That's so.
Yeah, it was him.
That's great.
Yeah, and the first thing he said was, made some comment, I bet you $1 to donuts. And it sounded just like something he'd have said out of a film. And, Jeff and I were like, holy shit, it really is him. So, there you go.
That's great.
That is fantastic. Wow.
So moving on to the going deeper into the movie, Billy Crudup and Anton Yelchin are awesome in this movie. They have this great father-son dynamic, but it doesn't feel, cheesy and, overly sentimental. It feels like a real thing. Feels like a real. They just have a great on-screen bond. And I know you guys both served as executive producers on this movie. Did you guys have were you part of the casting process?
Yes, as far as they would call us and say, we're hiring this person.
And you would say, okay.
Sounds great. We love him.
How did you feel?
There was a gentleman named Keith Carville, who is one of the owners of Unified Pictures out in L.A. He's the guy that came on board to produce it. We met him through Bill. And one of the really cool things is Casey and I, quite frankly, had worked ourselves to the bone to get this thing made, and like most independent endeavors. And we had scratched and clawed and had a lot of heartache, and, so we kind of, hey, this is our baby, so we're going to be executive producers. And, once you get a director, it becomes their vision, and the producer tries to do everything. A good producer, like Keith is, tries to do everything they can to get that vision fulfilled. But they were really, Bill and Keith were both super awesome. I can't think of a different word right now.
Right.
About including us in all the decisions. At least they made us think we were included. And that was really all Casey and I need. We just wanted to feel included. And, so they would say, hey, I think we might get Billy Crudup. And we were like, awesome.
Well, as writers, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but as writers, obviously you're putting your heart and soul into this script, and you must have had ideas when you were writing maybe of who you saw in those parts. And, Crudup and Yelchin are great, and I don't want you to, can you give us a little insight? What was in your head? I mean, who did you picture in those roles initially? Or do you feel comfortable talking about that? Because they're great. I love them. I'm really glad they were cast. They're fantastic.
Well, I'll just say this. I think that anybody that ends up in a movie, it's probably part of a huge list of we would, get down on our knees to have any, and be thankful to have any of these guys play the role. So there were a lot of actors that we discussed. But Billy was cast, Casey, was it 2 weeks before we started filming, or 3 weeks?
He's a golden god. Let me just say that.
Yeah, he is. I was talking about this last night. He was on the list at the tip top of it, but I was unavailable, and then he became available, so he jumped right back, to the top of the list again, obviously, and that was a very fast turn. I think Anton, and when you write, you think of, I think more in archetypes. Sometimes think of a specific person, but I think Anton was always kind of who, we had in mind of like the level, that we would have loved to have gotten. Because bear in mind, when we were writing it, we were thinking about making it for $500,000.
Right.
So
the movie would have starred Jeff and Casey at that point.
Yeah, well, actually, it was going to star Ben. Quentin was really written in a lot of ways for Ben Queller because we thought we were going to have musicians in the roles. So that kind of, and I had met Ben a few times.
Oh, he's great. We wanted to ask you about him too, but we'll get to that in a second.
So Quentin's kind of character is a little bit the way Ben is in some ways. So that it was like one step removed because the thought was, well, if a musician is playing a role, let's just kind of lean into that person's personality, especially if they have a great personality like that. So I think that might have affected it, but yeah, like Jeff said, when you're trying to get an indie film off the ground, I don't think we ever dreamed of being able to land Anton or Billy. So
yeah. Well, Sheldon
wasn't really any big name.
Yeah, Sheldon and I were fortunate enough to briefly chat with Anton. We were on the set. He did a Joe Dante film called Burying the Ex, which is supposed to come out later this year. So we were on set last year, and he's just such a nice, down-to-earth guy, and he's a great musician too. So it really played into your hand, and he's great in the movie because he's got this sort of sweet-natured boyishness about him. And it just worked perfectly. And again, the bond between he and Crudup is fantastic. So, for your guys' first major movie, I think you landed quite the coup there. They were both terrific.
Well, I wish we could take a lot of the credit for the casting. I don't know, as an aside, I think you guys might find this interesting, but one of the cool, really things that just non-acting-wise, I guess, about Billy is that they reached out to Billy, and he was like, okay, yeah, send me the script. I'll get back to you in 2 days. Or I'll get back to you on Monday. This is like a Friday. And he actually did it. And one of the toughest things, Bill will tell you, is getting responses from actors. And even, he would be calling for various roles. People just don't return your calls or don't get back. And so Billy immediately was like, I'm in, man. And he comes down. And then you were talking about Anton. You got the meeting. What you kind of see is Clinton. I think he's a damn good actor, but he is sweet. That's the best way I always describe Anton. He's a very sweet-natured person. He's just a great kid.
Yeah.
Very respectful, very kind and generous. And we got to meet his mom at one of the premieres, and she could tell where he got it from. She was lovely. And I wanted to segue a little bit. You got to meet Joe Dante?
We did, and it was, I have to tell you, it was a thrill. In fact, it's the first time that I'm from LA originally. I've lived in southern Utah since '91, and back in 1990, I got to go to a test screening of Gremlins 2, and I was in my teens, and Joe Dante was there, and I kind of got to shake his hand, but I never really got to have a conversation with him. And when we were on the Burying the Ex set, it was quite a thrill because
it was magical, really.
This is a guy that Inner Space is one of my favorite '80s movies, and I know that's a bold statement because Dante's made some great stuff in his career. So it was quite a thrill, and getting to hang out. We were only there for a day, but getting to talk to both he and Anton was quite a thrill. So.
Yeah, I'm jealous. I know it sounds stupid, but. He's iconic. That's a perfect. It's talking about. I don't know why throughout Simon West just popped in my head, but that's a perfect example of a guy that just had hit after hit, and had such a wonderful style, and just had a unique way of telling stories, and then he just got, I don't know if
It's
he couldn't get a job or he didn't want to work because he had so much money, but where did he go? I mean, I want to see more of that.
It's sad. I mean, he's made, what, 2 films in the last 10 years, including Burying the Ex, which no one has really seen yet. He did a film called The Hole, which is kind of terrifically entertaining. Very, very entertaining movie.
I let my son watch it. He still has nightmares. I made a mistake because I was like, oh, no, I grew up on this guy. It'll be fine. And I made a mistake of not previewing it beforehand. It had a couple of bad words, but the puppet,
Yeah.
He saw there's about the puppet, and it was awesome.
Yeah, it's just a great. It really is just a great horror movie for kids. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know you guys want to interview us, but I always end up doing this. I want to ask you more questions. All right. So, Burying the Ex. I read the synopsis.
Yeah.
Is it anything like Life After Beth? Because you saw that. Right?
Yeah, I don't. You know what? Sheldon and I. We do this, covering movies and stuff, but we're also writers. I don't really want to badmouth anyone's movie. I love Aubrey Plaza a lot, and I like Dane DeHaan a lot. I had a real hard time getting into that movie. Like, tonally, it just didn't. There was something off about it. I had a hard time figuring out what its primary goal was, because obviously it's got dark comedy in it, but it's got drama as well. And I'm holding out hope that Burying the Ex is the definitive girl coming back from the dead to kick ex-boyfriend's ass movie. Like we'll see. So I think Life After Beth's on DVD now.
It is. Yeah, I think it's weird because every time I talk about a movie, now you had a review. I can't remember what it was. I was like, I didn't see eye to eye, which would be amazing if we always on subjective things.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Very poor taste in film. All right, did you see what was the one? I'm sorry, I can't remember. With the kid that plays Beast in the X-Men.
The Nicholas Hoult.
Warm Bodies.
Warm Bodies.
I thought that was really clever. I liked it.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
It was fun.
I liked it. I mean, there were a couple of things in it. I didn't like the zombies reverting back to their human state when they fall in love. I guess that's just the purist in me, because I'm a big George Romero Dawn of the Dead fan, and it's like, I want my zombies to stay zombies. Sorry, that's just me.
No. I know. I can certainly appreciate that, but I go, how are they going to pull this off?
Yeah.
That was the thing, because I go, if somebody asked me to do that, I'd be like, yeah, man, zombies are zombies. And but if somebody said, no, I'll pay you, and I go, all right, well, now I got a challenge. I'm going to figure out a way. I mean, not that I could have written what was written. I thought they did I thought it was pretty darn clever.
Yeah.
I just did not, they're going to sustain that for a full movie. I was pretty impressed.
Well, Jonathan Levine is a really cool filmmaker. Have you seen his other work? Did you see 50-50 with Joseph Gordon-Levitt?
Loved it.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. It wrings humor out of something that's really not funny, and I really greatly admired that movie. And he did, what was the film he did with Josh Peck? The Whackness.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that too. Yeah, that's a good movie.
Yeah, and I guess he's shooting a Christmas movie right now, but I'm a fan. I liked Warm Bodies. I think I freely admit I get snobby about stuff like that. I don't know what my problem is, because it's like, on the one hand, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. On the other hand, I don't want to see the same stuff over and over. So there's a fine line to walk there. And
isn't that quite the paradox? Because I do the same thing. I want to see originality, but I'm still the guy that'll go watch a remake and be like, oh, no, that's okay. There's some things you don't touch.
Well, it scares me, because, they're talking about bringing Chris Pratt in for an Indiana Jones reboot. Now I'm reading, yesterday, Spielberg comes out and says he might be interested in directing it, and I'm incredibly torn on that, because I feel...
Whoa. Spielberg said he wanted to direct it with Chris Pratt?
Well, it was a very vague... the comments that Spielberg made, he said he would definitely be interested in mounting a reboot. If they actually do it, he wouldn't mind directing it. And I can only assume that means he would be... You never can tell with these things. Like, you read things and it's hard to tell what's just being fabricated by the media and what's legit. But yeah, that was a big piece. It was all over the internet yesterday. And, you know, I'm so torn on it. It's part of me wishes they would just leave it alone. You know, the Ghostbusters thing is happening now with an all-female cast, and I love the cast. I think the cast is great, but I'm confused. Like, this is Ghostbusters, but it's a complete reboot. It's not connected. It's not even putting the original Ghostbusters mythology in some kind of, you know, vague history. They're just starting from scratch. And my argument is, well, just put these awesome women in this movie and just call it something else. You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. So I
think he's a very charismatic guy.
he is.
I mean,
If they're going to do it, he's probably the guy for the job. The question, you know, quote Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, you know, everyone's so preoccupied with, you know, if he could, they're not stopping to think if they should. And it's, I just don't, I don't know.
I'm sorry to keep interrupting, but I just showed that clip to my students. We're reading a book called, oh my gosh, House of the Scorpion, and it's about, you know, some cloning and stuff. And I showed them that clip from Goldblum, and it's such a good line.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, man. I'm sorry, but there's, you know, like Godfather. Don't remake the Godfather. You know, don't ever touch that. Don't touch Indiana Jones.
No E.T. No E.T. Leave it alone. But then I hear Spielberg coming out of the woodwork saying he might be interested in doing it. I don't know how I feel. Crystal Skull left a bad taste in my mouth. Did I hate the movie? No. Was it monumentally disappointing to me? Yeah. And it's, you know, I'm not going to point fingers or point blame. I definitely don't think Harrison Ford was the problem with the movie.
Wait,
Like,
you talking about Crystal Skull?
what's that?
You talking about Crystal Skull was disappointing to you?
Yeah, it just
See,
was.
I really don't have any objectivity about Indiana Jones. I loved it. I know it had flaws. I would watch Harrison Ford walk around as Indiana Jones with a cane.
Yeah.
No, it was for 2 hours. That's how much I love Indy.
You know, it's like, yeah, did the movie disappoint me? Of course, but I've seen it. That's the funny thing. It's got such great things in it. It didn't disappoint me the same level something like Phantom Menace disappointed me. And Star Wars and Indiana Jones mean a lot to me. They're part of my, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark made me fall in love with movies. I saw Star Wars at an earlier age, but Raiders was the one that got me. Like that was it. So those movies mean a lot to me. Yeah, it's just the snobbish purist in me, just because I care. Of course I'm going to go see the reboot if they make it. Just like I'll be in line for the new Poltergeist movie, which has got me nervous too. It's like I love Poltergeist. So anyway, we're going off.
The trailer was good. A lot of people were bashing it. I thought the trailer for Poltergeist it was better than I had anticipated.
Well, Gil Keenan is a great filmmaker. I thought Monster House was awesome. So if he can capture that, more power to him, man. And Sam Rockwell's a badass too. So I'll be at the movie. You know, am I excited? I'm nervous about it, but you know, I'll still go see it. But we've got off on tangents here. We got to get back to Rudderless, one of the best movies of 2014.
Casey fell asleep. Let's keep talking about movies. I love this. I didn't fall asleep, but I am about to catch a cab.
Oh no.
So Adam, did you like the new Fright Night?
Oh, I don't want to go there. It's got Anton in it. Don't make me go there. You want to hear something crazy? Listen to this. This is crazy. I actually was on the set of the original Fright Night that Tom Holland made. A friend of mine, his father was an accountant, and he worked on that film. And we were there when Evil Ed gets attacked in the alley. Like, we were there for that whole shoot, and I got to meet Stephen Jeffries and a lot of the people on the original set. And there were things I liked about the remake. There were some things I didn't like. Were you guys fans?
Casey hadn't seen either one, which is, he's not a big horror fan. I liked it. I thought the original Sparrow was really good, and Anton, you know, I think is always good. Anyway, all right, Taxes by Rudderless. I'm sorry, Casey's got to get jump in the cab.
Okay, all right, here. So let's move on with Rudderless. Obviously, we can't talk about Rudderless without talking about the music. And so Simon Stedman and Charlton Pettis, right? They were behind the songs, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. They were behind all the songs, and it's hard for it to be Oscar night and me not think that.
Thank you. Sing Along was robbed, and Home is great. Actually, all the tunes are great, but specifically Home and Sing Along. And when I saw the nominees,
snubbed,
it really bothered me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure a lot of that has to do with marketing, and Rudderless just didn't get that push that it really deserved. But quite frankly, guys, and I'm not saying this to kiss ass, I liked Rudderless. I prefer Rudderless to Begin Again, which is really interesting because I am a huge fan of Once. And I went into Begin Again with very high expectations, which is my downfall. I do that. I go into movies and put certain filmmakers on a pedestal, and I felt somewhat let down by Begin Again. Whereas Rudderless, it was everything I wanted. In fact, aesthetically, Rudderless really is nothing like Once, but there are slight similarities. I love how music is such an integral part of Rudderless's plot, and it really is a musical in the purest sense. And I really love that about the film. And the songs move me. The songs are great on their own, but man, they're so poignant when you watch them in the context of the movie. And I don't want to ruin a lot, but my goodness, like when Billy Crudup sings Sing Along, that moment, that is so powerful and hard hitting. And I love Stedman and Pettis' songs. And I did some research on Pettis. I had no idea that he had worked with Tears for Fears, and they're one of my favorite bands. So
yeah,
he's a legend.
He's a great songwriter. I liked Begin Again. Obviously, I'm a little bit preferential to our film. I was really glad, though, that they got a nomination.
Yeah.
There were some songs that were supposed to be nominated that I felt like were more trailer songs than actual components of the film.
Right.
Which is why I feel like,
exactly,
Sing Along deserved more consideration than it got. But at the end of the day, I'm hoping one of the songs from Annie or the song from Begin Again wins, because at least it was a big part of the story. It progressed the story forward.
I agree, and I'm happy to see that Everything Is Awesome got nominated, because Lego Movie was totally robbed in the animated feature category. But I think the winner I think John Legend and Common will probably win the award. Would it be my choice? I'm torn. I really like the song, but I agree with you. I think the tune from Begin Again is more important to the plot and the driving force of that movie. And I think they should reevaluate how they nominate songs for that very reason. But I mean, seriously, half the soundtrack from Rudderless could have been nominated in that category. Like the songs are terrific.
Well, we had 3 songs on the consideration list, but we were never in any of the conversations of the songs that they thought would get in there. So that was disappointing. I really had fingers crossed for.
Was Over the Shoulder one of them?
Over the Shoulder was the third one. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great tune too.
Yeah.
So.
That's my favorite of them. That's kind of hard to pick one. Go ahead, Casey. Sorry. I was gonna say it's my favorite. My daughter sings that song all the time.
Yeah, it's great.
If you ever get bored of Adam, YouTube Home, there's a lot of people who have done their own covers of it, and it's really touching. The outpour of support on not just the film but the soundtrack. I mean, you can still do searches on Twitter. People love that. As a matter of fact, like last week or the week before, it was the #1 most downloaded soundtrack on Amazon.
Wow.
And so and you go, wow, it really, it opened in 18 theaters nationwide, day and date, which a lot of movies are doing that now. But you go, and there wasn't a lot of marketing, there just wasn't a lot of money in the budget for it and stuff. And people get paid a lot of money to make those decisions. I don't know how it works.
Right.
But you put it in 18 theaters, and for the amount of publicity that it didn't have, it's kind of grown on people and it's connected. And I, the movie, they said the writing was horrible, but the music was awesome. I'd be equally as proud because those are two really cool guys.
Yeah.
Syed and Carlson, and they're immensely talented. And what they did is, they created these things, but we would write placeholders in the script. This is supposed to be a song about this, and this is supposed to be, and they took that and they made our ideas infinitely better, and then added music on top of it. And it was, you say the Lego Movie didn't get nominated. There are so many movies that get overlooked.
Yeah, it's true.
So it's hard to be bitter because there's a lot of other people that you left out. But you name songs that are on the top, up for best original song, and they all have something in common, which is, relatively decent budgets, a strong marketing push, word of mouth.
Well, except that Glenn Campbell movie. Like, where did that come from? Like, that movie, I think, opened in one theater for a week. But it's Glenn Campbell. The guy's a legend. So I don't begrudge that. But I do feel like, if they're going to nominate that, where's the Rudderless nominations,
Well, I think you should start a letter writing campaign. Be all behind that. But that whole, when I think about the snubs and different things like that, or if I ever start to get disappointed in some of my favorite films, like Wild was one of my hands down favorite films, and I was stunned that it got snubbed. Cake, I thought, was just wonderful.
I didn't see Cake, but if you want to talk about underrated movies last year, aside from Rudderless, did you guys see Cold in July?
Yeah, absolutely. I loved it.
It's phenomenal. It's like, it's just, it all boils down to personal taste, I guess. But there's always going to be those movies that are not recognized. And, you guys are filmmakers, you're writers, and as well as I do, in the grand scheme of things, awards are irrelevant. But, man, they sure are nice. Getting validation, and especially something like these songs. And there are a lot of things about Rudderless. I thought you guys' script was fantastic. You could make an argument for awards in other categories. Are you guys nominated for any Spirit Award nominations even?
No.
Yeah.
No, nothing. We weren't qualified for they do one for first time screenplays.
Right.
But Bill's written about 10 of them, so I don't think we would have qualified for that one. But you don't really make the film for the awards.
Of course not.
And it's such a it's just, there's politics, there's personal preference, there's there's so much stuff that goes into it, and rightfully so. Some of these things end up becoming lifetime achievement awards,
Yeah.
Because dang it, we should have given it to Spacey for this, but we're going to give it to him for that,
Yeah.
I feel like, I realized the system something was wrong with the system when Chariots of Fire beat Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Well,
NBA championship is probably the only other time I've been that disappointed in my life. It was, I don't know what goes into that process.
How about Gandhi beating E.T.? Gandhi's a great movie, though. Gandhi's a masterpiece.
It is, and Chariots of Fire is a great movie.
It
but
is.
You go, let's think about long term. What's going to be? And it's so easy to get caught. It's like 99 people tell you you're awesome, and then one person says you're horrible. You're like, well, I need to fix that. So the thing is, Casey and I worked for the better part of 8 to 9 years to make anything.
Yeah.
And got to make 2 films, and that was 2 more than probably most people thought we could make. So it's kind of go, it shouldn't be too. We fulfilled the dream, and we're going to continue to make them.
No, I think that's great. I did want to ask you about something really important in your script, and that's the we'll tread lightly here because we don't want to spoil anything for people that haven't seen it. But there's something happens in this movie that changes the tenor of the whole film, and it adds a whole layer of complexity to it that I thought was completely brilliant, and I was blindsided by it, and it changed the whole outlook I had on Sam, on Crudup's character. And without going too much into it, can you talk just a little bit about like how that came about, like in the process, because it's really amazing.
It was. I'm going to jump in and credit, man. I got to do it. Casey, let me, please. Will you let me give you credit? Sure.
They're arguing.
Okay, just say the thought. I just wanted to say before he started talking that it was Casey's idea. I fought against it tooth and nail when Casey came up with the idea, and I made I threw a big fit when we finally told Bill. And after I went through my little tangent, he said, "Jeff, I think possibly these emotions you're experiencing are a good thing." And I went, "Well, crap, it's William H. Macy. Maybe I should listen." But the original script was much more your traditional happy ending, roses type thing. All right, Casey, I had to get that out because I just always wanted to see what they.
Well, how do you feel about it now, Jeff? Like, I mean, having seen it, do you still? I mean, obviously, there's no resentment. You guys are really close, but do you feel like the ending or this plot element was the right way to go?
Well, I'm so happy with the finished film, but here's the thing: is anything that is artistic and subjective can always be better or worse.
Right.
And so you're always in Bill, we didn't watch it. I should have done that. Or I should have done that. So yeah, you can always second guess. But I will say, many more people have loved the challenge of still accepting Sam as a sympathetic character than people have been put off. But it ended up getting more positive reviews, but the ones that were negative, almost every single one of them were irritated about that twist because they felt like they had been manipulated, and that's their right. It's subjective, but I would challenge anybody to go back and watch it again and go, oh, well, there are signs all the way through it that lead you up to it. We were very conscious of the idea that we did not want to manipulate the audience.
And I don't think you did. For what it's worth, having seen the film a handful of times, I would argue I don't even think it necessarily is a twist per se. It's not. It's an organic part of the plot. It's something that you conceal, but I feel like artistically it does make the movie stronger. And again, we're treading lightly because we don't want to ruin anything. And the reason I say that has everything to do with Sam, the way you look at him as a character, and him singing that song. It's just really, really powerful stuff. And Casey, good on you for fighting the good fight, because I think that really took the movie to a higher level.
Well, actually, I'm gonna have to jump off, but I do want to. I'm going to walk into a panel, but I do want to mention one thing on that. I do think that the reason it worked into the script and timed out the way it was more to challenge the audience, and we didn't do anything to put the answer. We didn't put our answer anywhere into that film. I don't feel like
you didn't.
And what I like about it is it moved along and it dealt with grief and it dealt with the healing power, and then we added one more layer onto it, and then just kind of left it for the audience to respond to. And I think that given the subject matter and given the situation, we felt like that was the only responsible way to tell the story.
It's honest.
And so, so that's my 2 cents on it. I'm glad that we did it. I'm glad that it had the twist. And I agree with you. I don't think that it was a twist. I think it was, we just did not give the final pieces of information until later. And we held on to those pieces of information to increase the emotional impact. And and also challenge the audience.
I agree. It never feels like a cheat or a cop out in any way. It's very, like I said, it's very organic to the plot. Casey, I know you have to leave, but I have to ask you both a question before you leave. Can you answer one more for me?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, one more. I got it.
Okay, this is a fun one. I always have to ask this because I just love it. Okay, you guys are stuck on an island, right? You can only have 5 movies and 5 albums with you for the rest of your life. Pick the 5. Go.
All right. For me, the 5. Let's see. Cool Hand Luke, Star Wars, Godfather, Bridge Over the River Kwai, and also I don't know what the 5th one is. Usual Suspects.
Oh, wow.
And then 5 albums.
Yeah, obviously you're a big music fan, so.
So, Queen is Dead by the Smiths, Abbey Road, OK Computer by Radiohead, Bend by Radiohead, and then the Smiths self-titled. I'm just kind of showing my colors on my 2 favorite bands.
You had me at Radiohead, Casey.
There's no shame.
Well, I'm gonna bounce off and let Jeff do his 5 and 5, and I'll check out the podcast and listen to the answers.
Casey, it was a pleasure, man. Thanks for talking to us.
Thank you so much, Casey.
All right, take care.
All right, we'll see you.
See you, brother.
Are you still on, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I've got a few more minutes. I'm going to get ready to coach my 3rd game of the day. I can't answer the albums one because I don't. I love music, but I'm not very smart about albums. I like songs.
Okay.
So I'm just gonna pass because I'll look like an idiot. I'll probably end up picking Billy Bear.
Here, I'll make it easier on you, Jeff. Name 5 songs.
With or Without You. Kind of Love Her. I like Never My Love. The Association would have to be in there. Beatles, All You Need Is Love.
Wow.
Not Beatles. No. Beatles.
Yeah, it's Beatles.
Beach Boys. Beatles. No, yeah.
It's the Beatles.
And then the Beach Boys. Help me. The one Love Actually. I mean, my gosh, I've listened to it a million times.
Yeah, All You Need Is Love, right?
Is that All You Need Is Love?
Yeah.
That's the Beatles, though.
Yeah, it's
That's
Beatles.
the Beatles. No, the Beach Boys. I don't know, dude. I told you I was horrible.
God Only Knows Where I'd Be Without You or something?
God Only Knows. That's it.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
That's Beach Boys.
I am just so cheesy. I
That's
take stuff
okay.
with laughs, like Smoke Gets in Your Eyes.
Oh, I love that. And U2 is my favorite band, for what it's worth, Jeff. So
Yeah,
thanks.
that can't do any wrong, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know, man. Movies are. If I wanted to be sentimental, so I could remember things I loved as a kid, it would be it would have to be Star Wars, Raiders of the Lost Ark, probably E.T. And I'm picking things, of course, that are all in the late '70s, early '80s, because that's when I had the biggest impact. And then. I just watched a movie the other day. It's one of my all-time favorites. I watched it with my kids called My Bodyguard.
Oh, yeah, with Adam Baldwin. Love that. And Chris Makepeace. Love it.
That's one of my. I love that movie. I just think it's so underrated. That's one I'd like to. If I had a choice, if somebody said you can remake anything,
that would be the one.
I'd take that one so right to have a really good remake done because of the way society is and the way we are about being passive and. Defending yourself. I think you could really, and I'm a teacher, I see bullying. I really think there's something you could do that would be really fun with that.
I think you totally nailed it. If I were going to remake a movie, it would be John Carpenter's They Live, which is one of the most underappreciated 80s movies. And with the political climate right now, I think and it would also be a perfect movie to do in 3D. I mean, it would be ideal, and I wish.
Like that. I'll write it with you, dude. Let's do it.
I'm tired of them taking, you know, that's a Carpenter movie that I could see them doing. It's like leave Halloween and these other movies alone. They all pale in comparison to the originals, but I could see a movie like They Live happening. And by the way, I heard Stallone is going to do another Rambo movie. He's going to take on drug cartels. I think he should go over and just defeat ISIS single-handedly. That's what I think. Let's throw Rambo up against ISIS.
Thank you. He was responsible, I think, at least partially. Bill Simmons is a writer for ESPN, and he coined this theory. But I started thinking about, like, I think Stallone was partially responsible for ending the Cold War with, Ivan Drago. Think about it, man.
Yeah, it's true.
And, They Live, I liked it a lot when I was a kid, but I wasn't smart enough to understand all the political stuff that was going on. And I started watching it when I was older, and I was like, holy cow, this is a smart movie. Because all anybody wants to think about is silly, Rowdy Roddy, and, I'm all out of bubble. Which is a great line, I'm all out of bubble gum.
Yeah, I've come here to chew bubble gum and to kick ass, and I'm all out of bubble gum.
Yeah, but it was such a smart, and all, guys that are legends, like Carpenter, they have at least one of those films that, they get it, and it's ahead of their time. And you look at something like, as far as novels go, like Fahrenheit 451, which is one of my all-time favorites, and you go, man, I read that with these students, and I go, do you guys even understand how close he was to getting almost all of this right?
Right. And subsequently, Darabont was attached. Frank Darabont was attached to. He wanted to make that movie for years.
Mel Gibson, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but I guess it's.
I don't know, man. I don't know how you do it. That would be a great challenge to have that opportunity, but it's such a. It's so relevant. I got to throw out my fifth though, because I want to see if you've seen this one. I'm going to challenge you a little bit. And it is one of my all-time. Now I've got probably 100 all-time favorites, but I watched it over and over as a kid. Nobody hardly ever has seen it. Called The Wanderers.
The Wanderers. You may have gotten. Who's in it? Is it anybody? It sounds familiar.
Ken Wall
plays
the lead, and it's got Karen Allen, and I'm trying to think. Oh my gosh, man! I'm trying to think of anybody else that you.
I'm embarrassed because is it an '80s film? Because I pride myself on.
I think it was made in 1978.
Wow.
And I remember catching it on cable. And then I was watching Roger Ebert at the movies. They were talking about overlooked movies one day, and he mentioned two movies on there that I had seen. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's how I fell in love with Roger Ebert too. And it was The Idolmaker.
I love The Idolmaker. That one I've seen.
I bought the album when I was a kid. I was obsessed with it, and I bought the album for The Wanderers. And The Wanderers is about a gang in the '60s of Italian guys in New York, and it's really, it's almost kind of like a Western a little bit, but it also deals with these high school themes, but it's all these rival gangs, and then there's this bad part of the city where these guys called the Ducky Boys live, and it's just this huge society of weirdos. And they end up having this football game to kind of settle the score between two of the Wanderers and another gang.
Yeah.
These Ducky Boys come out of nowhere, and then all these rival gangs that they've been fighting with are kind of watching the game, and they all have to come together.
That's
and
great.
among these guys, I'm telling you, dude, it is amazing.
It's very West Side Story, kind of. Yeah.
What's that?
West Side Story.
No, it is a little bit. It's not. Now, there's no. You can definitely make that connection.
Well, do you remember Bugsy Malone with Scott Baio and Jodie Foster?
Of course.
Yeah, the all-kid gangster movie. I think Alan Parker made it. That's another great one.
That's an awesome movie.
Yeah.
Now, this is a hard R. It's got, it deals with teen pregnancy and drugs, and oh my gosh, there's a great subplot with the mafia. And Ken Wall, I'm not going to give anything. This happens at the beginning of the movie. Ken Wall gets his girlfriend pregnant, and her dad runs this bowling alley, but he's part of the mafia. And so now Ken Wall's got these mafia guys that are like, yeah, you're going to marry my daughter, and it's intense. It is a great movie.
Is that available? Is it on DVD?
Yeah, well, I think it is.
All right, Sheldon, we know what we're watching tonight.
All right, we're on it.
We were going to...
I'm going to tell you, I hate hyping movies up because inevitably somebody's going to get disappointed.
No, but stuff like that, I love this though. You know, you get these little underappreciated gems that hardly anyone's seen, and I'm from that era like you are, so I'm sure I would totally appreciate it. The question of the moment though is, have you revisited the movie lately? Like, is it still as good as it was? Does it still affect you? Because, you know, sometimes you'll revisit movies from your youth and you're kind of like, what the hell was I thinking? Like, I mean, I don't know.
I have one that within the last, yes, no, I know exactly what you're, Battlestar Galactica. I remember.
The black hole.
I rented that in college and I went, oh, this, what? Anyway, no, I watched it within the last 5 years, but here's the thing. I'll pull up clips of it on YouTube, you know, just little parts that I liked, just to kind of revisit it. And, I mean, yeah, dude, it holds up. Not only that, but it's a period, so it's made in 78 or 79, and it's set in the 60s. And what I like about those kind of movies are they always seem timeless. Like, Raiders of the Lost Ark is, you know, set in the 30s and 40s, but it was made in 81. So you can watch 2015 and not go, oh, it's so dated. No, it was already dated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you get pulled into that a little bit more. I don't know. That's a weird thing I do. But
no, I totally agree. Completely.
Yeah. I tell you what, dude, you could give me anything from Spielberg, and I'd probably be happy. The thing is, I get very sentimental sometimes, so if I was stuck on an island by myself and had to watch those movies, I would start thinking about my childhood and my kids, and probably would not last very long.
No, you would do yourself in. Is there a Spielberg film you're not fond of? You're an artist. I mean, I know you probably don't want to answer that question, but.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Because I'm not a fan of Lost World. I think that's his worst film, personally, and you know.
See, it's what you were saying about Phantom Menace earlier, and I know I should be like all up in arms about that. I took my son to see it. They did a re-release in 3D, and I know, hey, more money to Lucas.
I was there, dude. I was there with my kids too. Okay. I took them.
My thing towards Lucas is he gave so many people pleasure.
I agree.
And he created this thing, and as far as I'm concerned, when he tinkers with it, it doesn't change my opinion of anything that has come before, because it's his, and I feel like he can do whatever he wants. Just because people feel like they have ownership, which I love, and which and I'm not saying I disagree with him, but I respect their opinion. He can do whatever he wants with those films. I took him to see The Phantom Menace, and I sat there and watched it, and I said, I want to tell you right now, I'm thinking to myself, this is more entertaining. Forget about the story. I know you can't. I said, this is a more entertaining movie than 95% of everything else I see.
Well, the lightsaber fight at the end with Darth Maul's pretty badass. I'll give it that.
Dude, yeah. And the pod race.
Yeah.
In the beginning, you know, I always wanted to know what a lightsaber could do, and when Qui-Gon starts cutting through that, you know, door, I go, I thought maybe.
Well,
and when they sped that hallway and they jumped off the thing, I said, yes, we're finally going to get to see the Jedi's being. And no, I wanted to see more. I'm hoping Abrams can do that, but
he will.
Yeah, back into that kind of thing. I guess I'm a snob like you about things that maybe try to be more than they are. Does that make sense?
Well, and that was my problem with Phantom Menace. I felt like, I don't know, George Lucas was put in he made the movie he wanted to make, and you just said something really interesting about him. You know, he created it. He should be able to do what he wants with it. I do feel like there's another side to that. I do feel like when somebody makes art that is that monumentally huge, it does cease to just become yours. It becomes the audience's movie too. And I certainly don't have a problem with George Lucas tampering with his own stuff. That's his right. He created it. What I have a problem with is him saying, not only am I going to do this, but you can't see the other version that I initially made. I feel like, you know, give them both. I mean, why does he have to take the original theatrically released Star Wars off the market? Like, why not just put them both versions on the same DVD and let the fans watch the version that they want? You know what I'm saying? That's the issue. That's the issue I have. Steven Spielberg, famously said that he regretted digitally tampering with E.T. He's like, George is going to do what George wants to do. I feel like E.T. is a product of its time. I kind of regret tampering with, taking the putting the walkie-talkies in the place of guns and all this other stuff. And I agree with you. George can do what he wants. It's his baby. I just think it's a shame that he doesn't let the original stuff have its place also. You know what I'm saying? That's my outlook at it.
That's hard. No, you're right, because on its surface, it's almost indefensible. And he's done things, which we all do, man. He's a human like all of us. He's said some things that are very hypocritical.
Yeah.
You're right. But here's the thing, is maybe he's a genius.
Yeah.
And this was a plan. You're not going to be able to see the originals, and then in 5 years, you're going to go, okay, everybody go buy these DVDs, because they will.
Yeah.
I will. My deal is about the art and tampering with it. Yeah, and it's so subjective, but I always go back to this. If he had never created that in the first place, we wouldn't be able to have this passionate debate.
I completely agree. Yeah.
I've got to give him that credit. He made such an impact on my life. One person, and the casting and everything, but that one guy made such an impact on my life that I almost give him a pass. I just, hey man, thank you.
Yep.
He's not killing people. He's not hurting people. He's not breaking the law. He's doing things artistically. And I may not like all of them, but I go, thank you, man.
I agree. Hey, man, I still have Star Wars underoos in my closet, so I'm right there with you.
I wish I did.
Yeah. Well, before we let you go, Jeff, I do want to ask you just one last question. Rudderless has come out on DVD. And there's not enough extras, man. When are you going to give us a Blu-ray that's like tricked out with all the awesome extras? I want a Twenter, Robison, Macy commentary. When are we going to get that?
Well, you're giving me way too credit. I don't have the power. It's funny. I would love that too. One of the things that, once you sell the script, even if if you're a main producer, it's different.
Yeah.
But once you sell that script, it becomes a community.
Right.
It belongs to a community, and it belongs specifically to the director. And so he is in control of all of that, and then the producer obviously is in control of that. And the people that end up buying the film are in control of all that. Now, we made a small movie. It's still not available yet in the U.S. called The Jogger, and we've never been on a movie set before. And first day we were ever on a movie set, we're directing our first film. And I know I'm getting back to the extras point, but I had these great ambitions. I was like, I'm going to hire a documentary crew, cheap, because we don't have a lot of money, and I want them to follow, and I want them to film every step of this. Well, you get so caught up in, literally, as a director and producer, having to choose. This is a literal question that I was asked one day: what color of underwear should the main character wear? And you're dealing with that stuff times a million when you're prepping a movie that you kind of forget about the other stuff.
Yeah.
And plus, we didn't have the money. And then on Rudderless, I was like, we were going to hire a documentary crew. And now I could have, but I would have had to pay, it wasn't part of the budget. Right. So I'm a rich man. I can't pay for that. I know there's I have behind the scenes stuff that I own, but I don't own the film.
Yeah.
So I can't do that stuff. I will say the deleted scenes, my kids are in a scene that got cut. And the only saving grace of that, because they were disappointed, is the fact that Felicity, Bill's wife, was also in that scene. So I was like, hey, he cut his own wife, so, don't be too disappointed. But did you get to see the ending, the original ending that he ended up cutting out of with the little boy?
I must confess I haven't, and I need to do that. I actually own I own the movie. I bought it. I was really bummed that it wasn't on Blu-ray, but I will watch those tonight.
There's a really I loved it. It's a really beautiful little scene that we had filmed that I think the ending that he chose was perfect. I love just sitting on that microphone and just kind of going, okay, now it's up to you. And Crudup sells it so well, but there's a neat little ending that kind of ties it up just in a more kind of happy way. And then there's another scene that Oh my gosh, dude, wait till you see it. I loved it. I was actually almost crying. There were a lot of people crying on the set a lot of days because Crudup's so good.
Yeah.
The scene with a mother that has a young child, she's trying to get him strapped in the car, and he comes in, he's drunk and tries to help. And it was, I loved it, and they cut it, and it was a little redundant, but I still like it. So there is some scene.
That's on the DVD?
It's on the DVD. Yeah, well, wait a second. Hold on now. I got to think, because I bought the digital copy when it came out originally.
Yeah.
I know that. It might not, don't hold me to that. It might not be on the DVD. Golly, I'm trying to think of how you can watch it, though. I'm not smart enough to send it to you.
I'm gonna look tonight. My favorite Crudup moment is the campus scene, which is so. I showed the movie to my wife, and she bawled like a baby, and she loved it. She thought it was amazing. But that Crudup's moment at the campus is, I mean, that's his Oscar clip as far as I'm concerned. Like, he's so great in it. But I'll have to scour through those deleted scenes and see if that's in there.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should have said it's on the DVD because I don't know if it is on the DVD. But you know, I'm sorry. I know we all have to go, and I'm going to get in trouble here. But I think we were talking about Bradley Cooper earlier, and I screwed his name up, I know. But one of the things that was so great about his performance, I thought, is that he said so much with his eyes.
Yeah.
You know, he so much without saying anything. And that is one of the beauties of Billy Crudup, is he says so much without saying anything.
Yeah.
And he's a really powerful actor that way. But that scene at the campus was the only day that I felt personally there was any amount of tension whatsoever. We had a bunch of extras. A lot of them were college students, and of course they're all very curious if you see a movie being filmed. But Billy had to. You think about if you had to do that in front of a bunch. You know, you have to do the crying. That's not an easy thing. I wouldn't think to do.
Yeah.
There's a reason to get paid good money to do that, but everybody was watching him as he was making his walk up. You know, there were just eyeballs, and he was like, "Man, can we please have people avert their eyes?" And he said it in a way that I think he was right as far as artistically. It's not going to look right if they just look at me walking up. You know, once I'm sitting down, I get it. But he was so in the moment and so jacked up at that part, which understandably, that was the only time when you kind of felt like, hey, we need to back off a lot and let this guy have his space. Because Crudup's a stud. He is one of the nicest human beings. He knows everybody's name. He shakes your hand and smiles and takes pictures with everybody. But he is when he's in character, man, he's intent.
Yeah.
And he's one, dude, you think about some of the stuff he's done. Has he ever disappointed? He's got a style, and he's never disappointed.
I'll tell you, I Almost Famous is one of my favorite movies of the 2000s. I think it's one of Cameron Crowe's very best movies. He's fantastic in it. I just saw him in Kyle Patrick Alvarez's new movie, The Stanford Prison Experiment.
That's so bad.
Yeah, it's sort of it kind of has a Lord of the Flies thing going, and I like Kyle Patrick Alvarez. I liked his first film, Easier with Practice, but this movie he's getting to play with a much bigger budget, and it's got a great the cast it's got Ty Sheridan, a bunch of really talented younger actors.
Durano guy that was in Sky High, right?
He's in it, and Billy Crudup is outstanding in it as well. But yeah, his work in Rudderless obviously is fantastic.
Billy Crudup in The Watch. I mean, he played a comedic. You know, he had a little throwaway thing. I mean, you can say throwaway. Remember The Watch with Ben Stiller?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot he was in there.
Yeah, man. He can do a lot. I mean, I don't know. We got lucky. I hope we continue to get lucky with our future endeavors. But dude, when you come up with some ideas for a remake of the Carpenter films, let's jump on it.
All right, and Sheldon and I, maybe at another time when you don't have a game to coach, we're going to tell you all about our zombie movie, which I think you're going to get.
Dude, send me an email. You got my email address. I'd love to hear about it. Dude, as you can tell, we were supposed to talk for like 20 minutes, and I will totally geek out on movies, and you'll get so sick of me.
No.
But we could have been in a bar drinking beer.
Tell him, Sheldon. Tell him how long I'll go.
He's like the Energizer Bunny over here.
All right, man. We know you have to go. Very last question. What's next? Do you guys have something in the pipeline? What's going on?
Yeah, like I talked about earlier, it's all independent film is about getting the money. I mean, if you have the money, you can make anything you want. We've got a film called The Blue Whale that we didn't write. We got asked to produce. We come on as producers. We're going to film that one in May. And it's a coming-of-age story set in 1981 in Catoosa, Oklahoma. And it's about a half-Indian, half-white, young 14-year-old kid that's kind of an introvert. And this girl comes in from California taking a tour down Route 66. The van breaks down, and she kind of gets him out of his shell. We've got some really good actors already attached. It's going to come down to getting the money. And then in August, we're going to film a movie called The Sin of Rain and Lightning, which is based on a novel from an author out of Kansas, and we're setting that in Oklahoma. And we've got a director and a casting agent, some music stuff, and they both have the potential to be really, really solid films. We wrote The Sin of Rain and Lightning. We adapted it from the novel. We're not going to direct either one. We were going to direct again, but we're going to take a little bit of time off. But we've got really talented directors, and the scripts the Blue Whale is awesome. So hopefully we'll do 2 this summer, and then we'll get to continue to do it. But it's independent film. You got to keep your day job. And if you had that big hit or people start hiring you, that's when things are really golden. But we love what we're doing right now. And hopefully those 2 movies will get made and we can keep going.
Well, we love what you're doing, Jeff, and we want to thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're one of the good guys, Adam, man. I can't, I just hit it off with you immediately. And there's no reason for us to kiss each other's asses because there's nothing to gain from it.
Right.
You're one of the guys. It's meeting guys like you and getting a chance to talk movies is one of the real blessings of being able to get in this business. It's been a real honor, and I don't want to keep talking, man. We need to write something.
Yeah, I agree, and your wife is lovely, and tell her I said hello. And,
she talks. Yeah, and sure, thank you very much.
All right, man, and we're going to do our best to get the word out on Rudderless, and we're going to be rooting for your songs tomorrow night, even though they weren't nominated. Thank you so much, Jeff. Go coach your game, man.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks a lot, guys. Take
All right.
care, man.
We'll
Bye-bye.
see you later.
Still recording.
So that was Jeff Robison and Casey Twenter, screenwriters of Rudderless. It's on demand right now. You can also rent it on DVD. Totally worth watching. And this is Adam Mast with Cinemast.net and Southern Utah's The Independent. And sitting with me,
local celebrity Sheldon Demke, yes.
And we are going to leave you with Sing Along from Rudderless, which is, like we said before, this song should have been nominated for an Oscar. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Bye-bye now. Sing along is the song.
My son's name was Josh Manning. This was his song.
Stuck in your confines, chewing it over, caught in your headlights. Stop staring. Don't know what's on my mind. What am I thinking? Whatever I say is a lie. So stop staring. Tread carefully. Take a breath and count the stars. Let the world go round without you. If you're somewhere you can hear this song, sing along. Close Close your eyes and count to 10. Maybe love's the only answer. I will find a way to sing your song. So sing along. Help me understand the silence. We make the best we can of everything. Nothing is what it was. Turning the light on. Honesty changes us completely. Tread carefully. Take a breath and count the stars. Let the world go round without you. If you're somewhere you can hear my song, sing along. Close your eyes and count to 10. Maybe love's the only answer. I will find a way to sing your song. You sing along. What is lost can't be replaced. What is gone is not forgotten. I wish you were here to sing along, my son, my son, my son, my son.